So let's just look back at the mainstream for a moment, but
Yep.
so that we can maybe get a little context for the independents. And independent is a nice broad term. I mean, I would include in independent things like newsroom, spin-off, those sort of things. So independent they may be independent media. I'm not saying they're not, but I wouldn't compare them to you guys. I wouldn't compare them to Newsroom or the spin-off in terms of their journalism. They're not accountable to the New Zealand Media Council. There's all sorts of reasons why they're out there on the limb. But if we just look at the mainstream for the moment, trust is around a relationship, I think. And I think that the news organizations, and that's most in New Zealand now, whose trust levels are falling pretty rapidly, have lost a relationship with an audience. And I think Reality Check Radio probably has quite good trust from its audience because they're actually building on that relationship all the time. The ODT is the most trusted news organization in New Zealand in our report, but we don't cover everything. But we have a list of 10 or 15 news organizations, and we ask people, if you read this one, and if you don't read it, please don't answer it. But if you read it, what do you think about this news organization? And the ODT is the most trusted. It's just sort of knocked Radio New Zealand off its perch. I can send you the link. There's a link at the bottom of there. You can actually get the report itself. But yeah, the ODT is the most trusted. And I started my journalism career many years ago at the ODT. And I think about, what would it be that makes the ODT different? And we actually have the editor up in at AUT tomorrow as part of a panel discussion to discuss this. But my initial thoughts around trust is a relationship. Trust in a social scientific way is a relationship between the trustor and the trustee, and it's based on future promised outcomes and so on. So what goes on in Dunedin that doesn't go on in Auckland? I mean, you go to the rugby stadium there, and the Otago Daily Times is right across the top of the stand. There's a sense of ownership by the community, and as you go further down in size, of course, down to community newspapers and stuff, my own community newspaper where I used to work actually is still incredibly well trusted. It's never put a story for free on the internet. That might be something to do with it. But trust is about a relationship. And, maybe some of those independent ones that I might not think of as journalism have actually built quite a strong, trusting relationship with their audience, even though I think they're being trusted for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, no, look, that makes a lot of sense because I would think about what we do in a very, very, very small way. And I think that's exactly what the people who are watching this right now will do. They say they trust us. We have a community. We actually are a very small community, and we see the same people in our chat many of the nights, and we hear from the same people in our emails. And so it's a little village. So I get that. And so the question therefore for mainstream media to wrap this whole thing up is, how do they build relationship back with their audience? And that's how they'll start to get trusted again.
So I've got some quite strong views on this, and I think that what's missing is that sense. Even though journalists that I know go to work every day to do their best work they can for the wider New Zealand community, but from the audience point of view, there's been the audience isn't entirely sure about that anymore. There's things like corporate interests and commercial interests, and whether the accusations of bias are right. And certainly the Public Interest Journalism Fund might have helped a few journalism organizations get through the pandemic, but it created a lot of mistrust out in the community, because if you're paid by the government, you're in the pocket of the government, people think. So there's sort of those issues that are hard to get through. But I think to rebuild trust, it's about showing the audience that you're on their side. And I think, and clearly that's what Big Hairy News is, and that's why people trust you.